Hey guys, how's it going? Lucas here. Hola chicos, ¿cómo andan? Lucas por acá. Me gustaría tener una propuesta para el día de hoy que sea diferente, que leamos una historia llamada Charlie y la fábrica de chocolate, que todos seguramente vieron la película o leyeron el libro. Y la propuesta es que tengamos una lectura del libro en el cual es enteramente en inglés y que después ustedes, a medida que leemos el libro, vayan buscando en cada una de las páginas alguna palabra importante, una palabra que defina toda la escena que está sucediendo. Y después que reveas el video leyéndolo tú mismo, tal vez bajando el volumen o si quieres leerlo conmigo a la vez, para acostumbrarnos a los sonidos y de a poco tener los siguientes pasos para aprender inglés. Así que, como decía recién, enteramente en inglés y vamos a empezar el video.
Bienvenidos de vuelta. Ahora vamos a ponernos los sombreros de pensar. Let's make the switch. Hagamos el cambio del español al inglés, from the Spanish to English, and let's start to read our book, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, by Roald Dahl. This is one of my favorite versions of the story. So let's go ahead. Chapter 1, The Bucket Family. This is a story about a boy called Charlie Bucket. There were 6 people in his family, but none of them were Charlie's brothers or sisters. So who were there? First, Mr. and Mrs. Bucket, Charlie's mother and father. The other 4 people were Charlie's grandparents. They were so old they stayed in bed all day and never got up. But they didn't have much room because they slept in the same bed. Grandpa Joe and Grandma Josephine at one end, Grandpa George and Grandma Georgina on the other. Chapter 2, Charlie's House. Charlie's family lived in a very small house. It wasn't easy for them. They were so poor. His mother tried hard to make nice meals, but it was always cabbage, or bread, or potatoes, or more cabbage. Charlie dreamed of eating something else. Most of all, he dreamed of chocolate. Chapter 3, The Chocolate Factory. In Charlie's town, near his house, there was a chocolate factory. It was the biggest and most famous chocolate factory in the world. All day long, they could smell the most delicious chocolate smell. If I had just one wish, Charlie thought, I will go inside the factory. Chapter 4, The First Golden Ticket. One day, Grandpa Joe was reading the newspaper. Charlie, listen. 5 golden tickets, each in a bar of Wonka chocolate. Find one and visit the chocolate factory. The next day, Augustus found the first ticket. He was a greedy boy, and nobody liked him. Here is August with his family, with his mother. Chapter 5, The Second Golden Ticket. The next lucky child was Veruca. Her parents bought her thousands of Wonka bars. Veruca couldn't wait to open them. She just lay on the floor, kicked her legs, and shouted, "Where's my golden ticket? I want my golden ticket!" When at last someone found one, she was happy. Chapter 6, Charlie's Birthday. 3 tickets left. Charlie hoped he would be lucky. Every day on his birthday, his family gave him a delicious bar of Wonka chocolate. Perhaps this year it will have a golden ticket inside. How happy will be. If he found a golden ticket, what do you think? Chapter 7, The Third Golden Ticket. Poor Charlie, but someone else was much happier. It was Violet, who found the third ticket. This girl loved chewing gum. She always had some in her mouth. If anyone found a piece of gum on their shoes, she just laughed. Grandma Georgina thought she was a horrible child. Chapter 8. The Fourth Golden Ticket. Soon after Charlie's birthday, Grandma Josephine was reading the newspaper. Listen, a horrible boy called Mike was found a golden ticket. Mike was crazy about television. He watched it all the time. If anyone tried to talk to him, he would shout, "Go away! Can't you see I'm watching television?" Chapter 9. Charlie finds some money. A few days later, Charlie was walking home from school. It was a very cold day. Suddenly, he saw something in the snow. It was some money. To Charlie, this meant only one thing: food. I must give it to my mom, he thought. But first, perhaps I'll... Chapter 10. A bar of chocolate, please. The kind of food Charlie was thinking about was chocolate. In no time at all, he was inside a shop. After buying a bar of Wonka chocolate, he quickly pulled out the paper. What a delicious smell! Then Charlie saw something yellow under the chocolate. He couldn't believe his eyes. Chapter 11. The Fifth Golden Ticket. A few minutes later, Charlie arrived back home. "I found it! I found it!" he shouted. "Found what?" asked his grandparents. "A golden ticket," answered Charlie. "Hooray!" shouted Grandpa Joe. "Hooray!" Then, forgetting where he was, he jumped high in the air. His soup went all over Grandma Josephine. Chapter 12. The Big Day. At last, the day arrived. It was a lovely sunny morning. Hundreds of people were standing outside the famous factory. They were waiting to see the children who were going inside for the day. Stand back, said a policeman as a line of people walked past. Veruca came first, wearing an expensive shirt and jacket. Next came Mike, dressed like someone in a TV film. Then came August and Violet. All these children had their parents with them, but no Charlie, who was last in the line. He had Grandpa Joe. Chapter 13. Met Mr. Willy Wonka. 10 o'clock. Time to begin. But where was Mr. Willy Wonka? Then someone shouted, "That's him!" And so it was. All eyes turned towards the funny little man with his pointy beard. "My dear children," he said, "how do you do? And these are your parents? How nice! Come in." Chapter 14. Happy Workers. What an amazing place! Inside the factory there were beautiful green fields, trees, flowers, and a brown river. "Look, near the waterfall," said Veruca. "Lots of little dolls. Are they people?" "Why, yes, they are," said Mr. Wonka. "They are Oompa Loompas, famous for working, dancing, and singing." Chapter 15. Augustus falls in the river. While the Oompa Loompas sung, Augustus walked down to the river. It must be full of chocolate, he thought. He lay on his stomach to taste it. Delicious! "Be careful, you'll fall in," shouted Mr. Wonka. Splash! Too late. Augustus was in the river. Then suddenly he was gone. Chapter 16. Down the Chocolate River. Augustus! Where's Augustus? I'll never see him again, cried his mother. Yes, you will, answered Mr. Wonka, but not now. What a bad boy! It was time to sail down the chocolate river. Charlie looked around. Everything in this amazing world was made of sugar. The pink boat was sugar. Chapter 16. The Magic Room. The Oompa Loompas rowed the boat down a long tunnel. They stopped opposite to the door in the wall. This is the most important room in the factory, said Mr. Wonka. Come inside. What a place! Magic sweets of every kind, like green gobstoppers, and never got any smaller in your mouth. Chapter 18. The Great Gum Machine. In the middle of the room was a great big metal machine. It moved up and down, making a very loud noise. Clunk, clatter, bang. Suddenly, out comes something small and flat. It's chewing gum, Violet shouted. That's right, said Mr. Wonka. The most amazing gum in the world. Chapter 19. Goodbye, Violet. It's magic gum, you see, said Mr. Wonka. This piece tastes of soup, meat, and blueberry pie. Violet put the gum in her mouth. Mmm, delicious. Help! cried her mother. She's turning purple and round, said Mr. Wonka, like a blueberry. Oompa Loompas, take her away. Get the juice out. Chapter 20. The Nut Room. The next stop was the nut room, where hundreds of little animals were opening nuts. I want a little animal, shouted Veruca, trying hard to catch one. But the animals caught her and pushed her down with the rubbish. Then down went Veruca's mother. And what happened to her father? Imagine what happened with his father. Chapter 21. The Great Glass Lift. There were only 5 visitors left now. They were all feeling tired. I want to watch television, said Mike. Fine, said Mr. Wonka. We'll take the lift. The machine was as fast as a rocket. It could go up and down and round corners. It was crazy. Chapter 22. The Television Chocolate Room. The visitors stepped out of the lift with a brilliant white room. Then they put on the dark glasses. This is where we test our television chocolate, said Mr. Wonka. What do you mean? asked Mike. Well, with a TV camera we send it to another place. It goes by television. Dun, 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 dun. Chapter 23. Mike, is that you? It arrives much smaller. What's this? 6 Oompa Loompas put a big piece of chocolate under the camera. Suddenly, it wasn't in the TV. Mike went under the camera. He's so small, cried Mike's mom. It's all right, said Mr. Wonka. The Oompa Loompas will make him big again. Chapter 24. Where next? Then Mr. Wonka turned to Charlie and said, My dear boy, you are the only boy left. Well done. You have won. Step into the lift. Here we go. Charlie was very surprised. What have I won? He thought. Where are we going? Chapter 25. The other children go home. The lift flew up in the sky. The people below looked very small. Look, said Mr. Wonka. The other children. Augustus at the front, Mike at the back. I'm going to have them sweets to take home, but for you, Charlie, something else. The lift was right above Charlie's house. Chapter 26. A big surprise. Charlie, said Mr. Wonka, you have won my factory. It's yours. Charlie couldn't think. The lift was falling. Crash! Help! Cried Grandma Josephine. The end of the world! But it was just the beginning. We're going to live in Charlie's chocolate factory, said Grandpa Joe. We will never be hungry again.
Sí, y sigan en Twitter, y un like, y suscribirse. Esa fue entonces la historia de Charlie y la fábrica de chocolate, en la cual un pequeño niño que vivía con su familia, con los 4 abuelos, con el padre y con la madre, finalmente logra ganar el ticket dorado y se acerca a la invitación de Willy Wonka, terminando siendo el niño que gana al final la fábrica, que es el gran premio final. Entonces, mi idea es hacer un pequeño curso desde el inicio, desde cero, para principiantes, para intermedios y para avanzados, un curso de inglés, una práctica para todos, y que esta sea en este 2021 una nueva forma de empezar para todos. En el siguiente video lo que vamos a hacer es un análisis adicional de este video de lectura, un análisis de cada una de las páginas. Y lo que yo propongo antes de ver el siguiente video es que hagas una pequeña lectura y un análisis personal y luego que veas el segundo video. Para así, juntos, vamos a avanzar, dar los siguientes pasos en el proceso de aprendizaje del inglés. Un saludo muy grande.